Inside a prison built specifically for murderers, tension is always in the air. One morning, a muscular inmate named James forces his way to the front of the food line. With just one intimidating stare, the kitchen staff quickly hands him an oversized portion. Feeling superior, James marches over to a quiet man wearing glasses. He throws the food away and forces the man out of his seat. The staff watches in fear, sweating at the thought of what might happen. But the man with the glasses stays calm. He does not react, and he does not remove his glasses. That alone is enough to keep the situation from exploding. His name is Krishna. To everyone in the prison, Krishna is not someone to fear, he is someone to respect. Even the guards speak to him politely. He is known not for violence, but for kindness. He helps weaker inmates, treats everyone fairly, and never asks for anything in return. The next day, a guard approaches Krishna and tells him the warden wants to see him. Once inside the office, a high-ranking official named Vikri informs Krishna that today marks 22 full years of his 25-year sentence. Because of his good behavior, he is officially being released early. But instead of celebrating, Krishna refuses. He wants to stay in prison and gives no explanation why. Vikri denies the request and orders him to leave when the time comes. As Krishna walks out of the office, he slowly removes his glasses. For anyone who knows him, that is a warning. In moments, Krishna confronts James and beats him badly. It is clear that Krishna did it on purpose. He wanted to be sent to isolation, buying himself more time and avoiding freedom. A nearby officer watches and laughs. He has seen this behavior before. He tells another guard that Krishna is only afraid of one thing. Freedom would mean facing the painful truth that someone important in his life will not be waiting for him. Outside, a guard rushes to Krishna's friend, a man named Jignesh, and tells him what happened. Without hesitation, Jignesh bribes the officer and manages to get Krishna a phone call. The moment Krishna picks up, Jignesh scolds him. He warns him that if Krishna refuses to leave prison again, he will commit a crime himself just to join him in a cell. Realizing there is no way to avoid release this time, Krishna contacts a powerful gangster in Dubai named Mahesh. He asks for help arranging documents and travel. Krishna wants to leave the country the moment he walks out of the prison gates. Later, in the quiet loneliness of the isolation cell, Krishna sits by the small window. His thoughts drift back 22 years to the year 2001, when life was very different. Back then, he was in college, living with his best friend Jignesh, and his heart was full of youth and hope. Across the road lived a girl named Vasuda. Every day, Krishna found reasons to cross her path, always trying to get her attention without ever admitting his feelings. Slowly, Vasuda began to notice him too. Curious about his past, she asked who he really was. Krishna told her he was an orphan. Before his mother passed away, she told him that education was the strongest weapon in life. From that moment on, he dedicated himself to learning. He studied computers until there was nothing left he did not know, and eventually built a successful career. Back in the present, Krishna smiles to himself, lost in the memory of those happier days. The next morning becomes the moment everyone has been waiting for. His release day. Before leaving, Krishna visits the inmates who have become like family. Many are emotional, knowing someone they deeply respect is finally walking free. An older inmate pulls him aside and reminds him never to remove his glasses again. He also gives Krishna an address. It is the location where an illegal passport arranged by Mahesh will be waiting. Everything is set for his new life in Dubai. Outside the prison gates, Jignesh is already there. The moment he sees Krishna, years of longing and friendship pour out. He embraces him tightly, tears running down his face. After a few moments, Jignesh forces a laugh, snaps a picture of the two of them, and secretly sends it to Vasuda without mentioning it. Together, they return to a small eatery they used to visit years ago. The familiar place triggers another memory. Krishna remembers helping the owner automate his business system so he could track transactions more easily. Back then, it felt like a small gesture, but it meant everything to the man. As Krishna was leaving that day, he realized he had forgotten his motorcycle keys. When he returned inside, the scene had changed completely. 3 masked men were attempting to rob the owner. Without needing to raise a hand, Krishna intimidated them so much that they dropped everything and fled. Later that night, Krishna went straight to his apartment and summoned a young man named Pakya. He recognized the tattoo on his arm. It matched the robber from the restaurant. Krishna slapped him in front of the neighborhood, exposing him and forcing him to face shame instead of revenge. Now, standing in the same restaurant in the present, the owner is stunned to see Krishna again. He pulls out an old notebook of unpaid debts, but instead of collecting, he refuses the money. To him, Krishna is more than a customer. He is someone who once protected him when no one else could. Grateful, he hugs him tightly. As they sit and drink tea, Krishna asks Jignesh to visit their old apartment complex and arrange access. The moment the request is made, Krishna's mind drifts again to the past. He remembers being called into his boss's office and receiving life-changing news. He had been chosen to travel to Germany for 2 years to continue his studies in computer science. It was the greatest opportunity of his life. He shared the news with Vasuda, and she was overjoyed, yet heartbroken, knowing the distance that awaited them. That night, they chose to spend every moment together, knowing it would be their last before he left. When it grew late and they returned home, they tried to be discreet. Vasuda asked to be dropped off at a nearby intersection so no one would suspect their relationship. She asked Krishna to follow 5 minutes later.
बदल मत जाना तो
मौसम थोड़ी हूँ.
But while walking alone, everything changed. Vasuda was kidnapped and dragged into a warehouse. Inside, she was beaten and terrorized. Hearing distant screams, Krishna ran toward the sound without hesitation. When he found her, the sight shattered him. Overwhelmed with rage and pain, he attacked. 2 of the kidnappers never made it out alive. He dragged their bodies into the street, fueled by heartbreak and fury. Back in the present, Jignesh finally returns after securing permission for their visit. He and Krishna thank the restaurant owner one last time and leave. Soon they arrive at the old apartment where they once lived. The building brings back another memory. Krishna remembers giving Vasuda a small plastic ring, a simple symbol of their love. Later, he returned to this very place with a real ring, ready to replace it. Only one person outside their relationship ever knew about that moment, and it was Pakya. Inside the apartment, Krishna turns on the light, waking Jignesh, who had fallen asleep earlier, and clearly did not appreciate witnessing such romantic memories. Krishna hides the real ring inside the electrical meter box, hoping to keep it safe. But when he opens it again, years later, the ring is gone. Before he can process the disappointment, Jignesh calls out that someone has arrived to see him. To his shock, the visitor is Vasuda. Krishna walks down the stairs, unable to take his eyes off her. She holds out the missing ring and returns it to him, explaining that the plastic ring is the one that disappeared instead. Krishna smiles softly, understanding the symbolism in her words. Moments later, they decide to go to the beach they once visited often, a place full of memories and unfinished emotions. There they talk about life. Vasuda shares that her siblings have grown into everything they dreamed of, one a pilot and the other a doctor. She has built a weaving business that has expanded across the country and beyond. Just as the conversation warms, her phone rings. It is her husband. Without hesitation, she tells him she is with Krishna and will be bringing him home. Krishna feels uncomfortable and tries to refuse, but Vasuda insists. Her husband requested it, and she intends to follow through. Meanwhile, Jignesh has gone to a gangster hideout to collect Krishna's passport. Only after showing a personal note from Mahesh is he allowed inside. A woman hands over the forged documents. Everything is ready for Krishna's flight to Dubai that night. Back at Vasuda's home, the welcome is tense. Abhijit, her husband, appears displeased with the situation. He states clearly that this visit is not ideal, yet everything seems already in motion. Krishna finds himself even more surprised when he notices Vikriya, the Supreme Court official, also present. Abhijit leads Krishna outside to talk privately. Inside, Vasuda quietly holds on to the plastic ring Krishna once gave her, a reminder of a love she never fully let go. Krishna already understands the truth. It was Abhijit who fought for his release year after year. Krishna wants to know why and what Abhijit expects in return. Before he gets an answer, Vasuda steps into the room, forcing Abhijit to change the topic. Moments later, her phone rings again. There is an urgent issue at her business, and she must leave immediately. The conversation between Krishna and Abhijit continues, and the truth finally begins to unfold. For the past 5 years, Abhijit had been working quietly behind the scenes, trying to get Krishna released from prison, but every time progress was made, Krishna would end up committing another murder inside the prison, halting the process all over again. Abhijit explains why he did it. Before they were married, Vasuda told him everything about Krishna. She made one request. If she ever married someone else, she wanted permission to see Krishna on the day he was released. Abhijit agreed, but he also asked for something in return. When that day finally came, he wanted the chance to hear the truth about what happened on the night of the incident. So Krishna begins telling him everything in detail. The attackers that night were not strangers. They lived in the same apartment building and were led by Pakya, a man with a deep grudge against Krishna. During the chaos, Pakya managed to escape, leaving Krishna behind with the aftermath. Krishna then told Vasuda to run and never look back because he did not want her to get caught in the legal consequences. Meanwhile, at her workplace, Vasuda is restless. The conversation she needs to have with Krishna still feels unfinished. She calls Jignesh and begs him to delay Krishna's departure. Jignesh agrees and immediately contacts Abhijit, asking him to hand Krishna the phone. He tells Krishna that he will be there to pick him up within the hour. Back outside, Krishna continues explaining his past. Even after being locked away, he never had peace. The thought of Pakya roaming free haunted him. As long as Pakya was alive, Vasuda would never truly be safe. Then everything changed. Mahesh, a powerful international gangster, was arrested and sent to the same prison. His arrival triggered chaos. One by one, paid assassins entered the prison pretending to be inmates, each one determined to kill Mahesh. Krishna was asked to protect him, and then something unexpected happened. Among the killers was Pakya. For Krishna, this was the moment he had been waiting for. With his glasses removed, he unleashed everything he had held inside for years. Pakya and every member of his gang were eliminated. From that moment onward, Mahesh owed Krishna his life, and he never forgot it. Just then, Vasuda returns home and overhears part of the story. Hearing that Krishna continued protecting her even from behind bars breaks her completely. She turns away to hide her tears. Abhijit expresses his gratitude. He thanks Krishna for everything he has done for Vasuda and even for him. Like Mahesh, he offers help without conditions and promises to stand by Krishna if he ever needs anything. Soon after, Jignesh calls again. He is waiting downstairs. Krishna gets ready to leave. He shakes Abhijit's hand, but Abhijit pulls him into a hug instead. Before Krishna steps outside, Vasuda asks her husband for a moment alone with him. Abhijit agrees, though a hint of jealousy crosses his mind. Still, he respects Krishna's decision to leave India immediately rather than complicate their marriage. A few minutes later, Vasuda joins her husband on the balcony. She gently questions him, asking why he went through such complicated lengths just to speak to Krishna. Abhijit apologizes and confesses that Krishna told the story exactly the same way she once did. He looks at her and says that he is not a child. He wants complete honesty so their marriage can continue without hidden scars. And this is where the truth finally comes to light. On the night Vasuda was kidnapped, Krishna never heard her screams. Alone and terrified, Vasuda fought back with everything she had. In the struggle, 2 of the attackers were accidentally killed by her. The third, Pakya, witnessed what happened and fled in fear. When Krishna saw someone running and sensed danger, he rushed to find Vasuda. Nothing could have prepared him for what he saw. Vasuda was shaken, traumatized, and standing beside the bodies. In that moment, Krishna made a decision that would change both of their lives forever. He told her to run. He told her never to speak a word of what happened. Then he explained why. He reminded her that she still had a family, parents who loved her, and siblings whose futures depended on her. One dreamed of becoming a pilot, the other a doctor. If Vasuda went to prison, those dreams would collapse. Krishna, on the other hand, had no one. No family waiting, no future promised. He told her he could survive the punishment, but she would not. He would rather burn if it meant she could stay warm. And so, he staged the scene. He moved the bodies to the road, making it appear as though he was responsible. Not long after, Krishna was arrested and sentenced to 25 years. Before being taken away, he begged Vasuda to leave the city and never visit him. He asked her to build the life they once dreamed of and make sure her siblings reached their goals. If she ever came to see him again, everything he sacrificed would be meaningless. Years later, Vasuda shares her final private conversation with him. Krishna told her he would never return to India, no matter what happened. He respected her marriage and her happiness, and he refused to be the reason her life became complicated. He told her he was proud of her, proud of the life she built and the comfort she worked hard for. Vasuda cried and apologized, feeling responsible for destroying his future and indirectly forcing him out of his own country. She hugged him one last time. Krishna gently pulled away, knowing her husband was watching from the balcony and wanting to protect her marriage. He walked away with a calm face, but inside he was carrying decades of pain. Hearing the truth changes Abhijit. More than jealousy or insecurity, he feels respect. Krishna was not just a man with a dark past. He was someone who carried the weight of love and sacrifice with quiet dignity. Meanwhile, in the car on the way to the airport, Krishna sits silently. No anger, no tears, just the heavy silence of a man who has lived through more than most could bear. Beside him, Jignesh feels the sadness deeply. He has seen every chapter of Krishna's suffering, and now he watches his closest friend leave everything behind, including the love of his life. So the moral of the story is, if life gives you love, trauma, gangsters, heartbreak, prison time, and a plastic ring, just remember to keep your glasses on and maybe, just maybe, move to Dubai.